They say monsters are born from darkness, but sometimes the darkness wears a smile. In the quiet town of Waverly, Nebraska, the wind carries secrets through the cornfields. It hums between the empty barns, echoes down the long highways, brushing against the paint of houses that haven't been repainted in decades. It's a town that knows silence, a town that minds its own business. And that is where he hid best. His name was Ethan Cole, a husband, a father, a neighbor who waved every morning at 7:12 a.m. as he drove his pickup past the post office. Everyone in Waverly knew that smile, polite, consistent, almost rehearsed. What they didn't know was that behind it was the quiet rhythm of something far darker. He wasn't born a monster. He became one, slowly, methodically, and without anyone noticing. And by the time they did, he'd already buried 6 bodies beneath the soil he called home. The world before the crime. Before the headlines, before the fear, there was just the stillness of rural Nebraska life. Church bells on Sundays, high school football under orange skies, the faint hum of tractors at dawn. Ethan blended into that world seamlessly. He worked as a mechanic, good hands, quiet mind, dependable, the kind of man who stayed late to help an elderly customer fix a flat tire, the kind of man people trusted without question. But every mask leaves cracks, and sometimes those cracks show in the smallest details. The way he lingered too long at the playground fence, the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes, the way dogs stopped barking when he passed, as if they sensed what humans could not. In his home, the curtains were always half drawn. His wife, Claire, thought he was just private. Not a talker, she said. But in his silence there was calculation. In his neatness, there was control. And in that control, the seed of obsession began to grow. Neighbors said he kept to himself. The truth is, he was observing them, learning how people move, how they react, how they trust. He watched kindness, not because he felt it, but because he wanted to imitate it, to wear it, like a mask stitched from borrowed humanity. The first disappearance. It started in 2009. A 19-year-old waitress named Lila Jensen vanished on her way home from the diner. Her car was found on the side of County Road 6. Engine still running, headlights on, purse on the passenger seat. There were no signs of struggle, no fingerprints, no witnesses. The town mourned. They searched the woods, the cornfields, the riverbanks. But after weeks, hope turned to silence. And in that silence, Ethan smiled a little wider. He attended the search vigils. He hugged Lila's mother. He brought casseroles to the grieving family. He even helped tape missing posters around town, his own handwriting beneath her photo. He didn't kill out of rage. He killed out of curiosity. He wanted to feel what power tasted like. The kind of power that only exists when one life ends and another remains to remember. In the beginning, it wasn't about cruelty. It was about control. And like all obsessions, control demands repetition. The pattern. Over the next 7 years, Waverly became a town haunted by coincidence. A hitchhiker, a drifter, a teenage runaway, all disappeared within a 30-mile radius. Each case was isolated, each case unsolved, each case forgotten. But to Ethan, they weren't cases. They were chapters, each one a test, refining his method, polishing his mask. He learned how to choose, how to lure, how to make people vanish without leaving a trace. He built a small shed behind his property. Just tools, he'd say. But inside there was order. Labels, hooks, tarps, a drain built into the concrete floor, a workshop for dissection, not of flesh, but of humanity. The FBI later described his rituals as coldly procedural. No signatures, no trophies, No theatrics, just precision. He treated murder like maintenance, a task to complete, a mess to clean, a smile to wear. The psychology of evil Ethan Cole wasn't insane. He wasn't driven by delusion or voices. He was fully aware. And that's what made him terrifying. Psychologists would later call it compartmentalization, the ability to separate emotion from action, morality from behavior. He could love his daughter and kill someone else's. He could comfort a crying neighbor and silence another forever. Inside his mind, each act belonged to its own locked room, and he alone held the keys. In his childhood, there were no horrors, no abuse, no neglect, no poverty, just emptiness. A father who was present but absent, a mother who smiled without warmth. He grew up studying people, not connecting with them. He mimicked laughter. He mirrored emotion. He became fluent in humanity without ever speaking its language. When he killed, it wasn't about pain. It was about silence. He described it in his journal as peaceful, like muting the world, he wrote. That sentence would later become Exhibit A in his trial, a window into the void where empathy should have lived. In interviews, forensic experts compared him to a painter who uses life as his canvas, erasing, shaping, experimenting, not out of hate, but out of curiosity, because curiosity without conscience becomes cruelty. The investigation, the turning point, came in 2017. A police officer named Daniel Ruiz, newly transferred from Omaha, began connecting dots others had missed. He noticed that each disappearance had one common thread. The same man reported as helpful in nearly every case. Ethan Cole. At first, it seemed impossible. Ethan was the town's quiet hero. He volunteered at the fire department, coached Little League, fixed police cars for free. But Ruiz followed his instinct. He re-examined old evidence, tire tracks, soil samples, time logs, and slowly the image began to form. A surveillance camera from a gas station captured Ethan's truck near the area where the last victim disappeared. A neighbor's security cam showed faint headlights passing behind his property at 2:17 a.m. Small clues, invisible unless you were looking for them. And Ruiz was. The search warrant was executed on October 4th, 2017. Inside the shed, investigators found stains beneath the concrete. Human, confirmed by DNA. 6 victims matched. Leila Jensen was one of them. The others had never even been reported missing. When they arrested Ethan, he didn't resist. He looked at Officer Ruiz, smiled, and said quietly, "I was wondering when you'd show up." The confession. In interrogation, Ethan didn't cry. He didn't shout. He didn't justify. He just talked. He described each act like he was reading from a manual, step by step, clean, efficient. He remembered times, dates, and even the weather. What he couldn't recall were faces. He said, they all looked the same, calm when it happened, like they finally understood something. When asked why, he paused for nearly a full minute before answering. His voice was flat. "I wanted to see if I could end someone without ending myself." Psychiatrists later dissected that line endlessly. To them, it revealed a paradox, a man who sought proof of his own humanity by destroying others. To Ethan, it was an experiment that never ended. The trial. The courtroom was packed for weeks. The people of Waverly came to witness the man they thought they knew. The man who fixed their cars, waved at their children, prayed beside them. They wanted answers, closure. But monsters rarely provide either. The prosecutor called him a predator of silence. The defense argued mental illness, emotional detachment, trauma. But the jury saw through the words. They saw the man who smiled as evidence was read, who blinked only when the photographs of his victims were shown. Not out of guilt, but recognition. When the verdict came, he didn't flinch. Guilty on all counts. 6 life sentences, no possibility of parole. As the judge read the sentence, Ethan turned to the gallery and smiled. That same practiced, perfect, empty smile. The one Waverly had seen every morning for a decade. The one they would never forget. Aftermath. His house was demolished. The shed burned down to ash. The soil was dug up and replaced, as if the earth itself wanted to forget. But forgetting doesn't erase. It buries, and the buried have a way of speaking through silence. In the years that followed, documentaries, books, and podcasts tried to explain him. Some blamed childhood detachment. Others blamed genetics or boredom, or the banality of small-town life. But maybe the truth is simpler. Maybe evil doesn't need a reason. Maybe it just needs opportunity and a place quiet enough to hide. Psychologists studying Ethan's case called it the paradox of familiarity. The idea that the people we trust most are often those we understand the least. The friendliest faces can mask the deepest voids, because evil doesn't always knock on the door. Sometimes it lives next door. Reflection. If you drive through Waverly today, it looks like any other small town in the Midwest. Kids on bikes, farmers at the diner. The same wind still moves through the fields, but beneath that calm lies memory, collective, heavy, and unspoken. Ethan Cole became a legend of what people fear most. The evil that looks normal, the smile that lies, the man who proves that monsters don't need horns or darkness. They just need time. He once said to his cellmate, years after his conviction, "I used to think I was different. Now I think I'm just honest about what everyone hides." Those words chilled investigators more than any confession, because beneath the horror, there's a reflection, a mirror. What if evil isn't an outside force at all? What if it's part of what makes us human, the part we spend our lives denying? Every generation creates its monsters, but monsters are rarely born. They are shaped by neglect, by silence, by the small cruelties that go unnoticed. And when those cruelties grow unchecked, they smile, they blend in, they wave good morning, and the rest of us never see them coming. In the final interview before his execution date was commuted to life without parole, Ethan was asked if he felt remorse. He looked directly at the camera. For the first time, his smile was gone, but his voice remained calm. "I don't think remorse is real," he said. "It's just fear wearing a conscience." He closed his eyes, leaned back in his chair, and whispered, almost tenderly, "Fear is the only thing that ever made me feel alive." The room fell silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. And in that silence, the kind that hums between words, you could almost hear it, the echo of his smile, fade to black, soft piano, wind across the fields. Perhaps evil isn't born, it's remembered.